Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of GM Fantasy, and in today's video we're going to go over 5 players that I will absolutely not give a contract to. So let's get it going. So last week I made a video about my top 5 players per position that I would give big contracts to, and in today's video we'll go maybe in the opposite direction. I'll give maybe not 20 players, but I'll give 5 players that I will definitely never give a contract to. Now, it'll be for various reasons for various players, but these are the players that I consider to be walking red flags who have overachieved or are just an injury away from just never being valuable ever again. And they're definitely not worth making long term investments in. So I'll start off with a player that a lot of people actually really love, especially in the fantasy community, is Kenneth Walker. Now, on the surface, Kenneth Walker seems like a great pick, like a great player. You know, like if you've ever watched him play, like he's actually pretty good when he's healthy. Now, the only problem is he gets injured quite a bit. He's always on the injury report. It's always something that's nagging him. Right now, it's a sore foot, and depending on who you listen to, some people are saying this is a lot more serious than most people are letting on, and some people are saying, "Oh, it's really nothing serious. They're just keeping an eye on it and just managing it." Now, for me, that's something that's super risky, especially since at the end of last year, Zach Charbonnet came on pretty hard. He definitely did super well in the absence of Kenneth Walker, and I'm scared that if Kenneth gets another injury this year, that it might be it for him, and then they might roll with Charbonnet as the number one back. Now, there's already rumblings that they're going to start doing maybe a 50-50 role just because they want to manage Kenneth Walker's injury. So if he gets injured again, man, this could be it for him. You know, he's 24 years old, turning on 25, so he's still in the prime of his career. But if he's going to be dealing with injuries every single year, and you're just not sure if, even if he'll be available for you, is it's not worth the risk. You know, there's other running backs out there that are a lot more rigid, a lot more solid that will be there, and it's just someone that I would personally avoid. He does well. Like his stats are not horrible. You know, mind you, he's only eclipsed 1,000 yards once, and he just barely did it. I think he got a guy in 2022 here. We'll see. Yeah, he had 1,050 yards, 9 touchdowns isn't bad. So that was a decent fantasy season. And then the other years he hasn't eclipsed 1,000 yards, but he does hover around 8 touchdowns. So he's not a useless player whatsoever. Like I wouldn't give him a long term deal. If there was maybe a year or two deal on the table for him, I would consider that. But I know for a fact that every your league mates are definitely gonna bid him up to a longer than a 1 or 2 year deal. So for me, I'm just gonna be out on Kenneth Walker. It's just not worth the risk of the investment you're gonna put into him. The next player I've got another running back. I've got James Cook. Now people are saying, "Oh man, he was like a league winner last year. How can you say that he's a bad investment?" Look, I think he overachieved. Now he had 16 touchdowns last year. I don't think he's doing that again this year. Like, there's definitely going to be a regression. You know, if he scores 10 touchdowns, that would still be a good season. But I'd be surprised even if he gets 10. I think he's going to be closer to 6-8, and I don't know if he'll reach 1,000 yards. Like he barely reached 1,000 yards last year. I know they really like Ray Davis, so they're gonna give him more carries. Josh Allen's always gonna run, so I think his opportunities are gonna be limited. And the fact that he just got his contract, I think a lot of people say, "Oh, he's got his contract, he's ready to go." I think it's gonna be a negative. I think that now he's got pay, he doesn't have to. He's not gonna have the motivation to really produce. So I think he's gonna get a little lazy. Like I've noticed, his brother did that. I think his brother did that if I remember correctly. He got his big contract, and then that was it. You never saw a top 10 season out of him again. So I think that the fact that he signed his contract is more of a negative than a positive. No, I could be wrong about that. Obviously, if things go right, he can be a league winner this year. But I just think the risk is too high for what you want to sign him for, what people will make you sign him for, because he's definitely going to go for top dollar. And I think if he's going to go for top dollar, I'd rather spend it on someone else and not James Cook. Another player next on the list we're going to have is going to be Chris Olave. Now, Chris Olave, for obvious reasons, is just a huge injury risk. Like, he's kind of like Tua, like he's one concussion away from potentially retiring. He just misses way too many games. Like the best ability is availability, and if you're never available, then what's the point? Like you need fantasy points, and if he's on your bench or on your IR slot, like he's not getting you fantasy points. So he's just a player that I have a hard time even considering signing to a long-term deal. Like I said before, a little asterisk. If it's a one-year deal, I'll be more willing to do so, but your league mates aren't going to let you do that. So for me, a player like Chris Olave, even though he's relatively young, I think he's only 25 years old. He's just way too much of an injury risk. Not to mention that New Orleans right now, like they have absolutely no identity. I know Kellen Moore just arrived and he could potentially help the offense, but you don't even know who the quarterback's going to be. Like Rattler doesn't impress me. Shuck, we'll see what happens with him, but he didn't really impress me during the preseason so far. So I just think Vegas has them as a bottom offense. They're probably going to be the first overall pick or second overall pick. So the immediate outlook for the future of Chris Olave is not the greatest. The only positive thing you could say for him is that he's a good route runner and that he'll probably get the majority of the targets. But if he gets knocked out and he's not available for you, you just wasted you wasted your investment, I would say. Another player we're going to talk about is Brandon Ayuk. Now, he's not going to be ready for the start of the season, obviously. He just tore his ACL and MCL. They're saying maybe he'll be back week 6, could be up to week 10, maybe even longer than that. You never know with these type of injuries. And kind of like Olave, same situation. Your best ability is availability, and I don't know if he's going to be available in the near future. And these are the type of injuries that could be re-aggravated, and it's just I think his best years are behind him. Essentially, he's 27 years old. He's about to be 28, coming off a major knee injury. I just don't see him ever getting up to where he was. And to be honest, he only had one really good season. He had what in 2023, he had 1,300 yards and 7 touchdowns on 75 catches. It's not even that great. Well, it's pretty good, but it's not even like it's not elite numbers or anything like that. And to sign him to a long-term deal right now, I think would just be absolute suicide for you. So he's definitely someone I'm going to be avoiding. And then the last player that I'm going to talk about is going to be Zay Flowers. Now, Zay Flowers other than James Cook, probably has the best outlook overall of all these players. But him too, he's someone who just doesn't impress me, and he's being treated like a wide receiver one, even though he's the wide receiver one on his team. But stat wise, not so much. He barely cracked 1,000 yards last year. His touchdown numbers are very low. Like I think he's 5 is the most he's ever had, and it's just for the money that you're gonna have to pay him, I'd rather pay someone else. Receivers on Baltimore do not do well fantasy wise. Like he's not horrible, but he's not great. And if you're gonna sign someone for at like a wide receiver one contract, he better produce as a wide receiver one. And I just don't see Zay Flowers doing that. The only thing that he has going is he's pretty healthy and he doesn't miss many games. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. If there's any other players that I maybe left out that you would never sign to a long-term deal, your red flags, leave it in the comment section. I'd be happy to see what you guys have, and I'll go back and forth with you on that. And look, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a huge favor. Like the video, subscribe, maybe leave a couple comments. Let's get the community going, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.